What's going on, my creative collective? Welcome to your creative unconscious reading for July 23rd. So I originally had a plan to, talk about, and I'd meditated on the energy this week leading up to the reading for today. And I was sitting with it, and then something happened tonight. So I'm recording this on Friday night. I was, at a restaurant with friends and my bestie Steph, and um, there were some guys there that decided that um, my transness would be the thing for them that evening. I'm fine. It's just words, but words still kind of cut a little bit. Um, just words and actions, but and bless my friend's heart. She's an Aries and her boyfriend is a Leo. He's this like 6'3" Viking of a man, Viking of a human being. And it wasn't the intimidation. So that's not why I bring that up. I just bring it up because all he said was, "Do you want me to stand up?" And I was like, no, it's fine. That's very sweet. But it was just an interesting experience. And so we talked about it after the guys had left the restaurant, and because my original plan was to talk about cringe, and I had made notes, like the divine portal of cringe, and the altar of cringe, and just the cringe that, like, the ways that we do that to ourselves, the ways that we cringe at ourselves, and how we can sacrifice so much of ourselves, so just for others. And we can sacrifice ourselves for the sake of others, or our perception. And I was thinking I talked to her about this afternoon while I was driving, and in between, and because she has such great insights. But then we were talking about after the guys had left. I said, why though? Like, I still don't understand why. I really don't. And I said my first inclination is to think, like, all the voice changes, and like there's like facial hair that I was so proud of, and I still am. But in that moment, it felt small. Like, I felt small. And I think to myself, why? Like, why do people do that? And this isn't a rant towards them, because I was driving home 222 on the time. And I drove, and I sat by a cornfield and watched the sunset, it sounds so ridiculous, but I just, I sat in my car and just watched the sunset. I just needed as I was driving home, I heard the words, "Let the trees carry you home," and my synesthesia was all over it. So nonetheless, flip back to the restaurant after that happened. And it wasn't anything major. It wasn't anything that would be drawing attention, but I just had to move seats. I moved seats so that I wasn't in direct eye contact. I was like protecting my energy in that way. It was one of those things where I sat back and I asked my friend, I asked my friend and my friends that, and I said, like, why though? It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense that we would be at a place where we feel like that is the appropriate response. Like, it still doesn't make sense to me, even to reduce someone. And she had said, think about it. I guess like the closest thing that you could think of is if somebody were to look at someone's outfit and say, ew, to that. Right. And I'm like, but who would? And it just still, that is what it is. But one of the things she said, she was like, the sad part though is that it means that they've never had to require empathy from others. It means that they've never had to require it with such a depth that they relied on it to feel secure in this world. They've never had to rely on it. And I'm not talking about going externally, because we get that from within. But there's something about empathy that is so core and so crucial. And, I thought, and she said that's missing. And when they need it, they may not get it. And I said, but that doesn't feel like the answer either. That doesn't feel like a good answer to me either. Because I don't want to live in a world where we punish folks who are in positions like that. Because beyond the initial discomfort that I felt, my other thought was, but then that just replicates more. And, she and I talk about this all the time, unrelated to today. But, yeah, and again, it wasn't obvious enough that other people in the restaurant, aside from the table nearest who heard me talking about it, knew. And so it was one of those things where it was okay. Like, it wasn't a situation where anyone had to be called or anything like that. But it really informed this spread, because I thought, and this, I'm dedicating this to them actually. So I'm dedicating this to them, not from a place of anger or hatred or punishment or anything along those lines. While driving home, I was thinking to myself, and it was an hour drive, so I had some time. I had time. I was thinking to myself, I want to do a reading to dedicate it to the moment where empathy may not meet them, or where empathy had not met them. And I wanted to do a reading to dedicate to the time where they will rely on that empathy. And I hope that it meets them where it did not meet me from them tonight. I hope that it meets them in a gentle reflection as opposed to a stark reminder of their own humanity. And I think about cringe, and I think about how, looking back, will they consider this from a cringe perspective, and will this be the reason, will this be among the things that disconnects them from themselves later? I can't really predict that, nor do I want to. I don't want to be in that energy of theirs, because it's theirs to own. But I did want to offer this reading as a transmutation of energy like that, not just for me, but for others who find that, and people can do this in the comments just as easily, right? People can do that. Obviously, we have the power to delete it as creators, but people can be horrible no matter where you are, no matter what it's about. It just sometimes gets a little bit precarious when it's like a restaurant full of people and you think to yourself, please, for the love of God, don't do anything that would draw full attention of the restaurant to me, right? So it passed, and that didn't happen, which was amazing. And I'm very grateful to my angels and guides for that. But I really wanted to do this reading to look at how we transmute these things, and how we go about it when it doesn't feel great, right? We're transmuting it. It doesn't feel great. And I think about how today, I watched, there's a Christina Lopes video that was about, whose energy is what. And this isn't to say that their energy was mine, but the way that it's left with me is mine to deal with. That's mine to carry, because the place that it settled in me is something that I have to own about my own energy. So I started to do that process while I was driving home, obviously, well, with safety. But I just started to ask myself, where am I going to put this, and how am I going to place this, and how am I going to decide my own humanity when others did not? So I said to myself, this is exactly like that box full of darkness. I think Mary Oliver, it was one of her poems, a beautiful poet, one of my favorites. And she had said, this, someone gave me, darkness, and I realized that this too was like a box full of darkness, and that this was a gift. So I just wanted to unwrap the gift with the tarot cards. So the theme then is the ways that we can meet ourselves, and how the divine portal of cringe, when we think about ourselves as awkward and out of place, but then through time, how we look back and we say, oh, that's not who I wanted to be. That's not who I want to remember myself as. So they may never know me or meet me ever on the path again. But I just wanted to put it out there that I liberate them from that through this reading, and energetically putting it out there. So Spirit, what messages do you have for my creative unconscious collective as we navigate these energies? Because I feel like it's not just unique to that situation or scenario. I think that it's something that is bubbling up more with debates about things like gay marriage, and whether that's right, and all of these things, So, Spirit, what messages do you have for my creative unconscious collective? Thank you for tuning in so far. It's 10 minutes and there's literally not a single card on the table, so thank you for sticking around. Building in Atoms. I'm hearing a song, The Scientist by Coldplay, go back, like the line, going back to the start. Maybe that's what we're doing. Maybe that's what this is an opportunity to do, is to take the moments where this happens, not just to me, but in other ways, in other scenarios, like my friend had mentioned, where people feel awkward, or because they're wearing clothing that doesn't fit in, I should say, or, and just in other scenarios where we feel compelled to invisibilize ourselves, or we think to ourselves, please, for the love of God, don't turn this into a restaurant spectacle, right? And not because of something we will do, but because of a way that they could take it and turn it, right? So the ways that we feel compelled to be in that energy. So let's see where this takes us. But again, I do feel like this is like part of building And I think this is the tough part of building, is the transmutation of the energy, and understanding that it's a gift, and understanding that it is true that there's, I can't control what people do. I can't control what others do. I can only control myself. I can only control what I put into my own boat. I can only control what light I put in there. This strikes me as very hermit energy. I can only control what I put in there. So what are we putting in there? Right? I almost feel as though all the things floating around are the things that we could pay attention to and that do grab our attention, right? They're sources of light. But are they the light we want to carry with us? Are they lightness, right? How does that land? And we have to make equal the equator and growth in plants. And I just feel like this idea of world building, like this whole idea of world building here. And it's like, what kind of world are we building, and what kind of world are we deciding on? Because that's decided not just in the happy times. That's decided not just in the times where things make sense. That's decided in the moments where it hurts. That's decided in the moments where we feel small. My first thought, this is very vulnerable making, but I give zero fucks tonight. So, and not from a place of anger. It just, I feel like these things need to be talked about, like, 11:11 on the time. I see influencers on Instagram and things like that being like, trans is beautiful and all of this stuff, and it is true. I believe that completely. I think too that it's important to talk about the humanity involved in this, not from a place of negativity, but from a place of taking responsibility for myself and saying, in that moment, I thought, is my binder tight enough? Do I need to get a smaller size? If I stand up, are they going to see? How should I stand? So that what angle? And do I look okay? Like, do I pass? Should I talk in a higher octave? All of these things, but these are safety considerations too, right? To an extent, because I didn't know what they would do if it took a turn, which it thankfully didn't. But it's just stuff that goes through your head, right? So. I think that in those moments, we can choose to carry that with us and shrink, or we can choose to carry that with us and let it be the reason why we choose empathy. Let it be the reason why we choose the light. Let it be the reason why we say energetically, because again, I may never run into these dudes again. They may never remember me again, but I hope that they are met with energy that differs from that which they extended tonight. Yeah. And in a way that just gently reminds them of the power of their own energy to transmute this stuff in turn, but also the power to give others, to give to others by shining specific kinds of light. And I feel like this is, again, the way that we work with this energy is something that's not just unique to me tonight. It's not just unique to that, right? I think it's something that is happening on a much bigger scale. On a much bigger scale. And again, we see it with all these court decisions and things like that, specifically now that they're debating gay marriage as though, what, right? Like, so how do we transmute that? I don't know the specific answer, but I do know that if we can start to look at the box of darkness, as it were, as a gift, the box of the shadow as a gift, and unwrap that in a way that honors our humanity and ourselves and takes responsibility for it in our energy, so that we don't say, that's not mine, and we push it away and push it away and push it away. Let it be in your energy, because it's giving you the gift of perspective, and it's giving you the gift of seeing other people's humanity in a way that you don't need that situation to do so. But thank goodness it does that for you. Thank goodness for that opportunity to look within. Thank goodness for that opportunity to forgive, right? And I think that's where this growth, it's almost like, I see this as building, we're making decisions together. This strikes me as more of a Gemini card than a 5 and a Hierophant. But it's like we decide together. We decide in the nuances. We decide. This is like primordial soup kind of energy where we're building, right? We're building and developing and growing. And growing something that comes from a depth of our soul, but also that is so visible and so bright. I think about antlers, right? I think about antlers and how that's usually what you see for deer and stuff on hikes. Before you see the deer, you see the antlers in the tall grass. So it's almost like this thing that sticks up. Like, what's the thing? What's the light that's shining, right? What's the light that we are allowing to shine above the grass, above the things that might obstruct the truth of what we are? How are we letting the light shine above that, above and beyond that even? So, Let me pull from this deck here. And again, I'm fine. It just took a moment of really needing to transmute the energy. And I thought this, like, it feels vulnerable making, but not in a way that is having me draw away from this, because I feel like this process is really, it's important to talk about, and it's important to put out there. And it's not vulnerable making in a way that makes me feel embarrassed or like I'm in my cringe. That's not the case at all. So yeah. Spirit, what messages do you have for my creative unconscious collective? Messages for my creative unconscious collective. And also think about the number of times too where you look back, and even in school, if you said something to a friend or to the kid that was lower on the social pole than you, or whatever, however you want to look at it, the pole, I don't know. Like I was thinking about how there's like, anyways, because I think about how we do that in school, and we might look back and be like, ooh, oh, I wish I didn't do that. Oh, I wish I wasn't that person. Oh, I wish I didn't say that. But those are the portals where we can meet ourselves. We can meet ourselves with the same empathy. We can meet ourselves with that empathy. And I think part of it is forgiving ourselves. And I thought to myself, in 20 years, if one or both, if one of those two young men have children who come out as trans, will they beat themselves up thinking about that? How will they remember it, right? What will happen? So it was one of those moments where I thought to myself, them not receiving empathy doesn't feel, punishment isn't the answer either, right? Punishment doesn't feel like the answer. And the sense that we have to make, I think, punishment isn't the answer. I feel like the sense that we have to make isn't going to come from what exists now. I think the sense that we make is what doesn't make sense because it's not something that exists in the same form that other things do. So we have to dream it to life. And I feel like that's really what empathy is. Specifically now, I think that's what empathy is. It's not, and it can take on, I was talking to someone about this in the comments, it can take on such a buzzword kind of virtue signaling thing where it's like, it's now this like, it's empathizing, but what does it mean every day? What does it mean every day? How do we do that every day in a way that transcends? How do we do that in a way that illuminates what it actually is to us in the everyday, right? So thank you to that person for having that conversation in the comments. I greatly appreciate it. I feel as though, look at this. So what we're here to embrace is the not knowing. So we have where we are now, to embrace, to release, and then how the story of the light gets in. That's this spread. And I feel like we are here to embrace this Two of Swords, not having the answers, right? We can't get a good grasp on things because that's not where it's coming from. It's coming from somewhere else. It's coming from something else. And I think this is where we're building this beautiful, this is like these to me are cards of world building, right? World building, primordial soup, and the spark, right? That static electricity or the ions or whatever it is that charged and created life. If you believe that, if you believe in that. If you don't, then it's really just, to me, this is about creating something brand new. This is creating something brand new from a depth of connection that transcends this world, that transcends this life, that transcends the simplicity of the 3D material world around us, that transcends materiality. And what I love here is that there's no cards of anger. There's no cards of frustration. There's no cards of punishment. There's cards of going within and joy and creation. So I feel like the cards are answering. Spirit's talking through these real strong. Spirit, what messages do you have for my creative collective and the creative unconscious collective as part of that, please? The Emperor, yeah. Oh, my blessed Aries friend. No, I'm kidding. She is an Aries. It was an Aries and a Leo at dinner tonight with me. Oh, so good. So the Emperor. What What else do we have here? Five of Swords. See, that's the story of how the light gets in. I'm so glad I did this. Thank you so much, Spirit, for the inspiration. This is how the light gets in. This is where it starts, is that feeling, that low confidence, that, lack mentality, needing to fight the conflict doesn't create, but the conflict is how the light can get in. The conflict is the entry point if we let it be. Yeah, there's the Hermit on the bottom. The conflict can be the entry point if we let it, if that's what we allow. And I think we have so much power here, and I feel like the cards are really showing up in a way that demonstrate that for me. Spirit, can you please clarify these cards for my creative unconscious collective, please and thank you. So we have the Sun. So on the Sun, these cards just flipped out. We have the Ace of Wands, the Five of Pentacles, and the Knight of Pentacles. Yeah, the new depends on how we redefine the past. I've said this before, this card reminds me of Ruth Bader Ginsburg because of the, it's like a cowl, but it's a specific name for what judges wore. And I will quote that again. Let me pull it down. I have it up. So it says, fight for the things you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you. So fight for the things you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you. Got that for Christmas one year. It's an excellent gift, I must say. But that's how the joy gets in. That's new ideas, new spark. You have to care, but caring in a way that gets other people to join you isn't going to come from trying to shout over. It isn't going to come from, saying like, do you want me to just stand up? Although I do appreciate it. It was very sweet. It made me laugh. I was like, it's fine. But that too is the way that we buy into a system, right? We buy into a system of believing that the taller that we stand, the more we can scare out the dark, the more we can remove the dark. But I feel like it's only going to come from when we take things slow. As the Knight of Pentacles, this is the slow turn towards what's most important. And this does sum up, fight for the things you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you. RBG. I'm going to pull one more here. And I think to myself too, for me it's transness. For other folks, it's, whatever else makes them stand out from a crowd. And people can say, like, transness is there's a lot going on in the States too, right? This happened in Canada, in Ontario. But I think that there are ways that we all have that one thing that we can resonate with when we hear these things, not to stay in that dark place, not to sit in that negative energy, but to say, you know what, I can definitely relate to how that feels. And that's not who you are. That might be what you see, but that's not who you are. What you see is an opportunity to go to a depth and say, how do I want to carry this energy within me? What do I want to do with this? What do I want to do with this? Because I don't know that everything's going to come at us in a way that is sunshine and roses. I don't know that life is meant to be one of ease. Life is meant to be one of joy. There are going to be times though where it doesn't feel like that. So it's not about pushing against it. It's about asking ourselves with this gentle pace and ease, who am I going to be in the face of this? How am I going to show the empathy that I so desire and need, right? I was grateful because I had people there tonight to see me in that. My cat's having a moment here. She's trying to figure out the shadow on the cards. You can't really see it. Yeah, she's trying to figure it out over here. It's okay, baby girl. I know. It's all right. And so, we have the Nine of Wands and the Hierophant, which is, I almost feel like this is like what we put our faith in, right? The Hierophant is a card of spiritual knowledge, yes, but it's faith. And it's like, what systems are we going to put our faith in? And are they going to elevate us? She's such a ham. She knows, like, energetically, I feel so connected to this little bean. She's very aware when my energy's off and if I've had like some kind of bad day. So she's like all over this. But it's fine. I know you want your face scratched. It's okay. This is what we put our faith in. I feel like this is like choosing things, and this is a reminder to choose things, to choose to put our faith in things that does not diminish us, that does not take from us. Come here, sweetheart. What are you doing? Oh, I know. Okay, you go here. See, she's like right up in my face. And it's not bad. She's just like the sweetest animal. The sweetest. So, I'm okay, baby girl. I'm okay. I know. Thank you. She was here when I first got in and just kind of did a bit of a meditation before starting the card. So, now she's purring. So yeah, I think this is really choosing what we put our faith in. This is choosing what we are allowing to help us ascend, right? I noticed that all of these wands that might be burdens or might be considered burdens or frustrations become a staircase to elevate us, right? And I feel like this is, the literal key, but I think that this is a key. This is a key point to remember that we get to choose. We get to choose, right? And it's allowing yourself to shed tears, because I did a little bit on the way home. And, it's just let yourself have the moment to feel it, and then decide. Don't decide before you felt it, right? And it's allowing yourself to have people feel comfortable seeing you in that too, right? So, Spirit, what additional messages do you have for my creative unconscious collective, please? The Queen of Swords. Yeah, this is like, this reminds me of like protective auntie energy, protective aunt or aunt energy, and a lot of a great deal of wisdom. And I feel like this is where there's like, it's almost like this is, several thoughts are going through my head. We have the Hermit here, which is wisdom, right? That's inner wisdom. But I feel like this is the wisdom that we cultivate in a lifetime. This is the wisdom that comes from choosing what swords we're going to wield. It's taking our Ace of Swords out of the Five of Swords equation so that it becomes the Four of Swords and is a rest, right? That is a rest card in the absence of that one. And I think that's what happens when we take our truth and integrate it. When we take our truth and integrate it, it becomes accessible to us as wisdom that we've picked up on the path. And that's, I think, part of the key here. I think that's a big part of the key. Three of Wands. So we have the Three of Wands. Yeah, it's like seeing it through this portal of positive expectation. Seeing it through a portal of positive expectation and hope, right? It's almost like the cultivation of hope. And that's this sort of new portal. And a new portal, maybe, but I think that this is part of it, right? We have this 5D vision that we can hold. We can hold this vision of what we want, but then it's like the actualization of that coming to life through wands, right? Through, three separate Ace of Wands. These are creative ideas, creative sparks, but these are also the things that help to shape our life, right? I think about what brought us into being over however many billions of years. Again, if that's what you believe, but it's like, I think that some of it is just the willingness to see it differently. The willingness to see it differently and to be a little bit defiant in your optimism, right? To allow those moments, allow yourself to feel, but just to be pretty defiant in your insistence that there has to be something better than this. Yeah, Judgment. Wow. That's amazing. Judgment just came out it was on the bottom of the deck, right? To be a bit defiant. I think this is like defiant decision making in service to something bigger, because it's a major arcana. We're pulling a lot of majors tonight, which tells me that the spirit is in this reading, obviously, but it tells me too that this is indicative of something that is bigger than just, it's bigger than just this reading. I try to connect to that collective energy, but, and not to say it in a way that's like, this is so important for everybody, but it's just, what are we doing with the energy if we're not transmuting it for everyone's highest good, right? Four of Wands. And that's, I feel like this is Five of Wands, sorry. This is that, to me, it's like, it's like burning this strikes me as like a burning the candle at both ends. Like we're trying to, we're trying to turn we're like, you can't yell at the apple that it's not an orange inside, right? You can't yell at the apple because it's not an orange inside. So yeah. And I think that we can't sit at a time that is an apple and yell at it that is not an orange in the way that it makes us feel, right? Because it's making us feel something. No, that's us. That's ours. That's ours. Why are we releasing this Emperor spirit? Page of Pentacles, or this Emperor energy, I should say. Whoops. So we're releasing that energy because there's something new, obviously. I feel like that's, this is like building, I want to say like building a new world, but I think it's already been undertaken, right? I know many trans women of color have already been creating this world, right? We're just lucky enough to be here to witness its full entry into things like policy and things like that, right? Like that's the gift that is presenting us with. So it's not necessarily creating something new. I'm hesitant to say that. I think that this is like releasing a bit of control because we can't control what other people are going to do. We can't control what they debate. We can't control how they react to us. We can't control any of that shit. We just can't. We just can't. And I think that the harder that we try, the further out of our reach this new will be. That's the Four of Swords. This is, again, like this is that Four of Swords. We're being called to rest. We're being called to give ourselves a break, right? We're being called to be in the Four of Swords, where that Ace of Swords is the wisdom, right? The Ace of Swords is the mother of the Queen of Swords that I pulled, right? It's like, that's the wisdom that we're trying to embody. That's the wisdom that we're trying to see through. That will then see us through. So, Four of Swords, Three of Cups. Yeah. Community. I feel like the Three of Cups is more of a celebration card. But I see the Three of Cups in many instances as being, a community card. It strikes me as very Uranian energy in the way that it's about coming together. It's about a celebration. I think that the Cups energy is about recognizing the threads of the heart what connects me to the guys at the restaurant tonight. What is it that connects us? Because there's something. We wouldn't be here at the same time in the same restaurant. And I'm not talking about finding the vibrational link and then rooting it out. Like, it reminds me of when I was in my teens, like doing a search and destroy mission for all body hair during a beach day, right? We're not doing that. We're not doing that. It's like what connects me to them and not thinking about it from a negative either, but saying, what is the thread in my heart that I want to connect to this moment so that I can then let it go, right? I'm tying a string to a helium balloon and I'm releasing the helium balloon because it's biodegradable, right? But like I'm releasing the helium balloon and letting it go. So what is that string that I'm going to pull from here? What is that thread that I am going to choose to weave to make of something? And I feel like that's really the big message here. I feel like we have more power than we realize. King of Cups, Two of Swords, the Chariot, and the King of Wands. Yeah. We have more power than we realize. King of Cups, Two of Wands, or Two of Swords, which is what's up here. We have more power than we realize. Right? The Chariot, Cancerian energy, which is that deep sensitive, also a cup, emotional energy. And then we have, the Knight of Wands, not the King of Wands. We have the Knight of Wands. But again, it's like the mobilization of the energy of the heart space. And it's almost like an eclipse. Like there's something like, we can't let hatred eclipse knowledge that we have internally or, as we bring it externally. That's just no, I really firmly don't believe that that's what we're here for. And I feel like this Chariot, the way it's represented here, it to me strikes me as much more about freedom to follow passion, because it does eat up a lot of our energy, doesn't it? To sit in a place of ruminating and thinking about it and thinking to yourself like, oh, is my binder tight? Should I do this? Should I redo that? Oh, and like my leg hair is intense, like, and they said that it wouldn't happen for another year, and I have facial hair a little bit, and my leg hair is ridiculous, like it's but amazing, right? But it's thinking to, questioning all of these things, and it's like, no, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because it just doesn't, and it just doesn't. In the end, it doesn't, because it's all, what it all amounts to is a definition of what masculinity is. That who set that definition? Nobody. We did. We made that definition right up, right? We made that all up ourselves. So it's like, why aren't we widening that circle to include more people in it? Number one, in that definition. But it's also just, why aren't we widening that circle internally to include ourselves too, regardless of where we are? And that's not something that I don't do, but it's just, it struck me on the way home. Like I was I should say it occurred to me on the way home, watching I was watching the sunset through the trees. I was just like, we only get so many of these. We only get so many of these in a lifetime. It seems like a lot, right? It seems like a lot. At 35, I'm, I still have a lot left. I have a lot of them left, and I'm grateful for that. But how many of those sunsets are we going to spend worrying about, stuff like tonight at the restaurant, or other times where we felt small? Yeah, there's the King of Wands, Ace of Pentacles, King of Wands. And I almost see this as like the sunset and new day, right? That's the new thing that you get to plant every single day. So what seed are you going to plant? What seed are you going to plant? This cat, she's just back and forth and back and forth. I don't know who's the star, the tarot or the cat. Like I said, she's just feeling a little bit antsy. I've got to snuggle up with her and love her up a little bit and just kind of calm her down, because she could tell something was super off when I got home. Okay, so Ace of Pentacles, King of Wands. Yeah. It was mostly just the offness was me trying to figure out how to transmute the energy into a reading that was, an offering to others, because I felt like it was a really good, it was an opportunity, right? Choosing to see the darkness as a gift, choosing to see the shadow as a gift. And I know I don't have to share every single process with everyone. That's not what I do. But tonight it seemed really poignant. And there's the healing energy. Tonight it seemed really poignant. Yeah. Yeah. It's stuff like this spread. This is why I love tarot. Right? Where you have this inspiration and you follow it, and you meditate on the energy, and it all starts to show up in this way. Right? As if to confirm and affirm, yes, you are beautiful. Yes, you are trans enough, right? The book title. Oh, love it. Yes, you are enough. Yes, you are blank. You are more than enough, right? And this doesn't just, like I said, it doesn't just apply to my experience tonight of, transness at the restaurant. This is also about like how people see themselves relative to things they perceive as lacking within them, right? Whether they think they're too much or not enough. It just, none of it really matters. None of it matters. And I sometimes wonder, I've talked to a few friends who have lost family members young, and I think what they wouldn't, and it's not to be weird about that or macabre or anything like that, but like they've said before, they would love to just have that extra day, that day with them to celebrate instead of, feeling sad or anything like that. And it's not about the loss here. I'm not talking about it for that perspective. It's just that we get a new day every day. Like we have that every day. So where are we going to let our energy dwell? And also, and this applies not just to the tonight and not just to the granular, but pulling back like to the news, to all of this stuff that doesn't really matter, right? It doesn't matter. It does. It does in the big picture, right? It does, right? It really does. But if it disconnects you from your source, if it disconnects you from your understanding of the fact that within you, right? If it puts you here when there's a 10 of cups, an ace of wands, and a magician inside of you, then what is it exactly? What is it exactly that we're doing? Because we didn't come here to be miserable. We didn't come here to have to fight all the time. So it's almost like feeling your joy and finding your joy is the thing. That's your source. That's your connection, right? Three of Pentacles. There's a lot of creative energy here. A lot. We have threes too. So we have the Three of Pentacles, the Three of Wands, and we have the Three of Cups as well. And because the Three of Swords is lacking what I like, it's not in the cards here, I tend to think of that as the thing that we need to, that's the story of what's happening right now, right? How we untangle and make and remake ourselves after disappointments. Strength in the Sun. And there it is. The spirits just said, that's it. I'm not going to try and pull any more cards. There it is. The Sun and strength. You're more powerful than you know. Than we know, I think. But I think it starts with choosing to see how we choose to see that box. No matter how people hand it to us. Right? Whether they hand it to us in a Five of Swords or whether they hand it to us in a Five of Pentacles. Whether it comes to us in the form of a Five of Cups even. We get to choose. And if it gets stuck in us, at some point we have to own that energy and do something with it, because ultimately this is our power. Our power is to be able to shine the light. Our power is to be able to illuminate and to cast light where there is shadow, right? And not in a way that is taking on, jobs, because Lord knows I'm great at that. No, I'm kidding. But we don't need that kind of energy. This is just about you shining a light where you are with what you have, releasing control, releasing the need for it to look a specific way in order for you to feel okay, because that can pull at your energy and it just stretches it like it just stretches it, right? Like a dough almost. I'm seeing like a pizza dough, right? It stretches it. I'm going to pull a couple Life Loves You cards here. Spirit, what messages do you have for my creative unconscious collective? So yeah, it's a bit of a different, a departure of a reading, I should say, from my usual, but the energy just kind of felt like it necessitated it. I see myself through the eyes of love. I am love. And I love and accept myself. My cat would like you to know that she does too, right? Yeah. Because I feel like when we're in these energies, it's really hard to hurt others. It just is, right? It's not like, you don't have to think of it as like a don't do this. You don't do this, right? We can certainly be unaware of the ways that we can cause some, degree of discomfort and harm, but when you're in these energies, it never lands in the way that is cutting, is cruel, is unkind. So, yeah, I think it's a call to kind of turn back towards that and to remember that when you tend to your energy and you tend to your own energy, it's exceptionally difficult to want to punish others for your pain. It's challenging to want others to hurt because of something they did. I know I don't want those guys to hurt. They looked like kids. Like they looked like, young kids. It doesn't make it any better that happened. But yeah. If we see, I'll read the backs of these to you too, but if we see ourselves through the eyes of love, right? If we see ourselves with that, and if we see ourselves mirrored in love, we can't see ourselves as anything other than loved, loving, and lovable, the thought won't occur to us to reduce or diminish because it just isn't there, right? So I'll read this here. So I see myself through the eyes of love. Look in the mirror and say, I love and accept myself exactly as I am. Keep saying it until you really feel it. I am love. Be the presence of love. Let the spirit of love flow through you. And I'm going to put a meme up here, actually. I'm going to put it here right now. I'm going to write down the time very quickly so that I have it, so that I know to reference. This is very, very technical here. Yeah. But it's a meme that I saw. I'll put it here now. And, it had said that basically, like, that, our most cringe is our most divine. And I just wanted to leave you with that because, think about this in reference to the times when you've done things and you're like, oh, no, I don't like that version of myself. Don't let that be your cringe that disconnects you. Because I feel like now more than ever, we need to be connected. Now more than ever, we need to be coming together. Now more than ever, we need to be transmuting that pain, because what that does is it shines a light that widens the circle and brings more people in. It brings more people in to understand the light, to understand what that shining means, right? So I love and accept myself. Your self-image is made up of your judgments. It's not the real you. Sit for 10 minutes with this question. What's it like to be me when I'm not judging myself? Yeah. And what's it like to be with others when you're not judging them? Because I could have easily, went off on a rant internally about those guys and been like, they're the worst, blah, blah, blah. They're all these things, and made up these stories that I don't know if they're true, but they're stories that would have been projections because that frustration would have lived somewhere in me. Did they deserve my forgiveness? I don't know. I'm not here to judge that. I'm not here to judge I'm not here to judge or measure their innocence. I'm here with the understanding that my energy is my responsibility. And however they choose to act, I can be as frustrated as I want. I can be as angry as I want. None of it is going to change what happened. None of it is. So my choice is, again, it goes back to, what do I want to build from here, right? The star, 3 of Pentacles. What do I want to build? Hope and healing, right? Building hope and healing from here. The strength in the sun, and it's leaning towards that and allowing ourselves to stand in a confident place and to feel the warmth of the sun, to allow ourselves to feel that, and to allow others to feel that through us as well. So that is your creative unconscious reading, my darlings. This is a lengthy reading. I was thinking it might be shorter, but the spirit had a bit to say. So be, compassionate with yourself, take care of yourself, and just remember to see yourself through the eyes of love. Remember that you are loved. Remember that you're loving, you're lovable. And just try to affirm as much as possible that you love and accept yourself. That's what the card said. So if this resonated, give it a like and subscribe. I'd love to have you on the channel. There are other ways you can connect with me through here, so do check that out. But if this is where we part, my darling Creative Unconscious Collective, I hope that wherever this finds you on the time-space continuum, morning, afternoon, or night, it finds you very, very well, my darlings. Take care.